YouTube, Dailymotion, Facebook, and Tumblr fans. How's it going, everyone? My name is Midnight Strike 3625, and we are here yet again to review another ACDC album to continue on with my discography review, and today we find ourselves at their 1984 EP, 74 Jailbreak. Now, 74 Jailbreak, a lot of people are wondering, why is it called 74 Jailbreak? It was released in 1984, and most of the songs were released in 1975 and 1976, respectively. What does that have to do with the name at all? 74? Not 84? Well, it turns out that even the linear booklet in here, I'm going to show off the booklet right here. That's an interesting picture. Even this says they don't know why it's called 74 Jailbreak. Well, I will tell you why it's called 74 Jailbreak. The songs off of High Voltage were You Ain't Got a Hold on Me, Show Business, and Soul Stripper, and I believe Baby Please Don't Go. Everything on here was recorded for High Voltage, basically, except for Jailbreak. And with High Voltage, that album was actually recorded in 1974. While it was released in 1975, and the copyright stuff right there, I will show you, if you can even see that. No, you can't. But it says 1975, 1976 on here. Usually that's a good hint of when the album came out, but in order to actually find out when the album came out, I had to look it up online. But before that even happened, before I even did that, I looked it up in the linear booklets, which, as I said before, awesome job with the epic remasters right here. See? Really great, awesome pictures. I'll always do that with the holding it upside down. And just a really great packaging overall. But that being said, you can see that there's not as much wear and tear on this one as there were on For Those About to Rock and Powerage. That is probably because I rarely pull this album out, or I rarely did pull this album out when I listened to CDs. And that is because while this is a very, very good album, I do appreciate every single one of these songs, and it was a very interesting time for AC/DC to release it. I feel like this is one of their more inconsistent efforts. I'll go into detail a little bit later on in the review. First off, let me just say that AC/DC were already with Brian Johnson. They were underway after Flick of the Switch, and Flick of the Switch was their first album that wasn't released 1 year after its predecessor. And I think that's what was really bothering AC/DC and kind of pushing them towards releasing another album a year after the other one came out. And I think that's why they released this album when they did, especially after the 10-year anniversary of recording most of these songs. So, with that being said, I feel like they were pressured into releasing something, at least something every year until 1986 when Who Made Who came out, and then there would be another 2 years before Blow Up Your Video, but I'll get into that when I get into that. I feel like they were kind of pressured into it. So they just kind of took 5 songs that weren't released in the United States or anywhere outside of Australia, and they slapped them onto a CD and called it 74 Jailbreak. I gotta say, though, awesome cover art. I really like the use of the effects and the color scheme, especially with the orange AC/DC logo, but I think it was shamelessly ripped off from Let There Be Rock. But then again, it does look pretty epic here with this little EP. So I am glad that Epic chose to remaster it as well. It sounds great. The production on every single song is sound, much like on their former albums, High Voltage, excuse me, Highway to Hell, High Voltage, and Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, which is what Jailbreak came from. So let's start off with a track by track, which I've been kind of delaying to prolong this review a little bit, because there's really not a lot to talk about that I haven't already said on their albums. So with this EP, personally, it's a good album, it's a good EP, but I feel like it could have been so much more than what it actually is, or what it actually turned out to be. Track number 1 is Jailbreak. It is, in a way, the title track of this EP, and it's a very good song, and the album, or the riff opener, actually sounds a little bit like Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, which is very ironic, because it was actually featured on the same album. But of course, when I actually first heard this song, I saw the music video, and I didn't know it was on Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. I just thought, hey, this sounds like Dirty Deeds, and it actually, lo and behold, was on the same album. So, it's a very good song. Structure is very sound. It's very simplistic as well. It's got kind of a really dark and gritty feel as well, with the way Bon Scott sings and the verses as well. So The lyrics themselves are very good. It's a little bit more progressive and conceptual than any of the other AC/DC songs, and I really do like the story that Bon Scott is trying to get across with, you know, someone getting put away for murder for 16 years because he killed the guy that his woman was fooling around with, basically, or cheating with, or got held up at gunpoint, if that's what they were talking about. It's a very good story. It's a very good kind of impersonation, I guess, of the events that transpired, or they're trying to tell a story about the events that transpired in the actual music video. The music video itself was their first music video. There's two versions of it. There's a concert version, which came out in 76, and then I believe there is one that came out in 84 when this album dropped, or when this EP dropped. So that one actually featured a jail setting and actually had some added in guitar effects and some shotguns and just some different effects to that nature. So I like that version a little bit better, but the album version's really good too. You Ain't Got a Hold on Me is the second song, and it's a little weird. I'm just gonna come out there and say it's a little weird because you just wouldn't picture AC/DC putting out a song like that. I mean, it's just one of those kind of inconsistent songs that is good, but not for AC/DC, I guess. The structure is really weird, and the way that Bon Scott sings is a little bit contrived feeling, but the lyrics themselves are very well crafted. Bon Scott, as I said in my last video, is a lyrical genius. He is amazing at writing lyrics, and just the rhyme structure and the song structure itself is very well crafted. But like I said, the guitar tone and just all those other factors just kind of wear the song down for me. But the next song, Show Business, this is another just kind of filler track. I mean, I like it. I like the added in guitar effects. I mean, there is a live version of this, the music video for that, and there's no guitar solo. There's no lead guitar solo in the beginning. I like this version a little bit better, but I like Bon Scott's vocals better in the live version. So when it comes down to this song, though, it just feels like another kind of ripoff of Can I Sit Next to You Girl rocker. It uses that same riff, that same bass riff that AC/DC has written, like, I think 5 or 6 songs with that same riff. I mean, yeah, it's a good riff, but don't use it for every single song. Like I've said time and time again. So, especially prevalent in the Bon Scott era. I mean, a few times in the Brian Johnson era, not as many, but in the Bon Scott era, they definitely overused this riff to the max. The vocals are good, though, and the overall structure of it, like I said, I mean, the verse structure and everything is very detailed and it's very good. But the simplistic riff, I mean, it's just, they could have done so much more with it. Soul Stripper, this is a very interesting one. It's one of their longest songs in their entire discography, with the exception of Ain't No Fun Waiting Around to Be a Millionaire off of their Dirty Deeds album. Now, this is a very interesting song, especially in the percussion of it. The drums, there's a little bit of a tick, tick, tick in the beginning, and it sounds very exotic, which is kind of ironic that I said that about this particular song, because Soul Stripper, as we all know, is a song about, well, a soul stripper. So it's a very interesting and, well, sexually explicit song, and they definitely hit the nail the hit on the head with the exotic feel. See, I'm already tripping over my own words here, but the exotic feel to this song is definitely what gives it an edge. And while it doesn't necessarily fit with the rest of the material found on this EP, it fits more with You Ain't Got a Hold on Me than anything, but it doesn't really fit with the rest of the stuff found on this EP. While it doesn't necessarily do that, though, it is a very good song and definitely one of the highlights, along with the next song and the closer, Baby Please Don't Go. This is a cover of a song that was released in 1935. I believe it was like bluegrass or folk or something like that. I tried listening to the original, but couldn't. I know that Aerosmith also, years later, actually 30 years from the time this was recorded, actually recorded their own version of this, paying homage to the AC/DC version. And this one's very interesting, and it's a good song overall. I do like the live version better. There's no parts of the studio version I like better. Just the live atmosphere of the song, as well as Bon Scott's vocals in that version, are definitely preferable, and they're definitely higher up there on the charts for me. But when it comes to the song itself, I do like the studio version. It's just Bond's vocals definitely give it the edge in the live version. And, I mean, he was dressed as a woman. So, if you don't believe me, check out the music video. It was released in, I believe, 1974, as well as being on the Family Jewels DVD set. So, basically, overall, I feel like this album is good, and it could have been a lot more. They could have added Stick Around, they could have added Rock and Peace, they could have added a lot of different songs. Carry Me Home, one of the most underrated songs in AC/DC's discography. It was a B-side of Dog Eat Dog. It never got released. They should have released that. They also should have released Cold Hearted Man, which was on Powerage. So I feel like they could have made an entire album out of this stuff, but they just chose 5 songs. And for me, the way this album is set up, the way this EP is set up, is a very inconsistent it's set up in a very inconsistent manner, excuse me. And it just feels like there's no flow there. There's no smooth kind of feel. There's no pattern. And for me, that is very important, drastically important in setting up an album. So for me, I would say that 74 Jailbreak would probably get an 8.5 out of 10. Just shy of 9. I mean, if it had more flow, it would get a 9, because these songs themselves are very good. But as an album, I feel like they should flow together. So, 8.5 out of 10. This is Midnight Strike 3625. I hope you enjoyed watching my review. Keep calm and rock on.